Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajeem. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Assalamualaikum. Ji ayanu, pakhair agale, ni hao, junashumme, washmale. Ohaya Gonzaimus, Guten Morgen, hola, bonjour, privyet, kaifa hal? Hale shuma chatore, ahlan masal, marhaba, buna, mucho, gracias, fabio, balli kare aaya. Hoş geldin and I say Khuyamora Chivato Chi Haljot Kalimera Khairutan. And a very warm welcome to everybody who's tuned into PTV World and watching World this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, I happen to be Shahzad Hasan Khan, and with me I'm really lucky that I've been joined by my very well-learned colleague who happens to be Miss Haja Satti. So hello Haja, Assalamu Alaikum, how are you feeling today?
Walaikum Assalam, thank you so much for introducing me. So in an interesting development, the 77th founding day of the Azad Jammu and Kashmir is being observed today with a renewed pledge to continue the struggle until the liberation of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir and the accession of the whole territory to Pakistan. And on this day, obviously, we observe and we stand with our Kashmiri brethren, and we extend our full diplomatic and moral support to the cause of Kashmiri liberation, especially for the Muslim Kashmiris who are suffering under the Indian yoke of oppression. And it's amazing that how despite the oppression, despite the tyranny, they are still standing tall to have that spirit, the zeal of freedom.
And obviously, you know, we stand united with our Kashmiri brethren as well, and the brethren in the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. But in addition to this, you know, moving on from a very serious to very light news early in the morning, and that is, imagine that a woman calling police for help, but not because that there are burglars around. Imagine
there
that
were burglars around, but not human ones, right?
She in the US state of Washington, she started feeding a family of raccoons decades ago. So a woman calls police as her house surrounded by 100 raccoons who demanded food that seemed harmless until the number showing up at her property rose from a handful to dozens, with some scratching at her front door and at her car. You know, so I don't know if it's a great idea to kind of feed animals, you know, just around your driveway. And some of those who turned up were aggressive, said Kevin McCarty, a spokesperson for Kitsap County Sheriff's Office. Footage from the Sheriff's Office showed between 50 to around 100 raccoons milling around tree outside the women's home. She said the raccoons were becoming increasingly more aggressive, demanding food, that they would hound her day and night, scratching at the outside of her home at the door. My God, look at
I think that is why they say that do not feed the animals, and do not feed them either, or do not disturb them in the first place. They just leave them in the natural habitat, because this is what happens. So now moving on to another very important day, because today happens to be 24th of October, and it is the founding day of the United Nations. United Nations has completed, or it is the 79th anniversary of the United Nations. So there are a lot of questions regarding the structure of United Nations, and obviously there are a lot of critiques surrounding that. But I think we have come to this point in today's globalized world where we can't imagine a world without United Nations, because we are so used to the existence of United Nations. So in order to celebrate the founding of the United Nations, what are the essential conversations that we need to have as the citizens of this global polity? We would like to unfold this conversation with a guest that I think Shahzad would like to
exactly. And in addition to this, I believe that, you know, for all of those Pakistanis who've contributed towards that, we really need to kind of give them a mention. So obviously Begum Shaista Ikramullah, Mr. Ahmad Shah Bukhari, who actually happened to be UN delegates who supported the drafting of the Universal Declaration of the Human Rights, and obviously for the creation of the UN Agency for Children. Not just that, I think the Pakistani economist Mehbubullah, who created the Human Development Index, Dr. Nafis Sadiq, you know, the first woman to lead one of the UN's major voluntarily funded program. And certainly the conversation really needs to be about the changing trends globally and geopolitically, and to kind of celebrate and observe this day. We're very lucky that we have been joined by the United Nations resident coordinator and humanitarian coordinator in Pakistan, who happens to be Mr. Muhammad Yahya. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and good morning. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi. Thank you very much for having me, and I'm delighted to join you this morning.
It's an absolute pleasure, sir, hosting you here. So, sir, today happens to be the anniversary of United Nations. How do you explain the existence of United Nations when there's so many questions regarding its existence? Please go ahead and shed the light on some of the very brilliant work that United Nations is doing.
So first, thank you for having me. You can see I'm wearing UN blue today.
I'm wearing the badge too.
Very good.
Yeah, it's
we're
right
happy,
over here.
We're happy you're wearing that. You first introduced the UN was set up 79 years ago, and it was set up to really ensure that we live in a better world, a more prosperous world, and a more sustainable world. And Pakistan has played an incredible role. You mentioned some of the key Pakistanis who have played an important role in setting up our values. But also for me personally, somebody who's worked in development, the person who's inspired me most is the work of Mahbubul Haq.
Yep.
If you think about the concept of human development
Yes.
and the ideas around investing in people, it was a very much a Pakistani idea. So it's the best place maybe to celebrate. Doing that.
That's a wonderful approach. I think you are as much of a wordsmith as we are. That was on a lighter note. But Yahya Saab, thank you so much for highlighting the contributions. So now let's moving on to some very essential conversations that we need to have as the global residents of this international community, right? So, sir, United Nations was established in 1945. It's a post-World War II architecture, right? And now we have moved into 21st century, and obviously times have changed, realities have changed. So, do you think that United Nations need to evolve? And when we talk about its evolution, I think let's go to the structure of the United Nations Security Council. Do you think that its structures need to change? The monopoly of the five need to change?
So absolutely, the charter which we're celebrating starts with the line "with the people."
Yeah.
We think the charter and the ideas in the charter, which is about sovereignty of nations, the ideas around social and economic rights, those things remain very much relevant. But you're right, the new challenges we are facing.
For example, climate change, yeah?
Exactly, climate change, AI.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
How do we govern AI? All those things are very new. So recently in September, Pakistan again played an important role in what we call the Summit of the Future, where we have the Pact for the Future. In it,
Right.
the world has agreed, for example, through a United Nations facilitation of our Secretary General, to set up what we call a global digital compact on how AI will be managed. The Secretary General is very clear that the challenges of 21st century needs a more agile and a reformed UN. So absolutely, there are things we need to reform, but the core of the UN, the ideas that set up the UN, the line that starts with our charter, "we the people," that remains very much relevant.
Exactly, and in addition to this, obviously, my colleague over here was really polite to ask about climate change and artificial intelligence. But how do you see the evolution of United Nations' role in this chaotic world? We do see how, where there are places, on this planet where we are a global citizen as well, may it be Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, may it be the issue of Gaza, and there are multiple other issues, may it be Ukraine. So how do you think that the United Nations actually, or what role? Do you think that there's a misunderstanding with the people to understand the role of United Nations? Because when we speak of or on behalf of the member states, what happens is that, it looks like as if the United Nations is trying, but nothing's really happening.
So it's really important to understand the UN's role in the world and how we are structured. There's the peace and security component, which you rightly mentioned some of the challenges we are facing in Ukraine, in Gaza, and other parts of the world. Sudan is another area that we don't talk a lot about. But there's also other components of the UN, socioeconomic rights, the work we're doing here. Before we came here, I mentioned that there are thousands of Pakistanis, UN staff roaming around Pakistan helping to give young children polio, to eradicate polio. That is also the UN.
True.
There's the work around education. Our colleagues in UNICEF supporting the government and the Prime Minister's declaration for education emergency with 26 million children out of school. That is also the UN. But you're right. I'm not going to avoid your question in terms of the peace and security issue. There are challenges that remain. The Secretary General has been very clear on the catastrophic humanitarian disaster that is Gaza, and he has called for ceasefire. He has pushed and has been consistent both what is happening in Ukraine and what is happening in Gaza.
But sir, now also let's talk about the safety of the United Nations personnel, especially who are deployed in the conflict zones, for example, in the Gaza, in the Palestine, in other areas, and we've seen that how in the Gaza they were under the attack, right? And there are lots of United Nations personnel who have died, providing the humanitarian services to the people of the besieged Gaza. How does United Nations ensure their security? Because I mean, just I said in the beginning that we cannot imagine a world without United Nations because we are so used to its existence, right? So it's, I mean, a rewarding job in one place, but it is also a very, sometimes a dangerous job to work with,
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely. I've worked in Afghanistan in the middle of initial war with the American intervention in Afghanistan. I was there in the early days. not very secure for UN staff. We lost some of my colleagues who I've known in Kabul. In Gaza, you're right, 220 UN staff have died.
Yes, yes.
So it's not an easy job, but I'm really proud that there are a lot of citizens, including Pakistanis,
Right.
that are joining the UN and taking and advancing our values of equality and a common globe that is healthy and livable for everybody.
And how much United Nations allows you? For example, you are from the Somalia, right? And you've traveled across the world and you've seen so many different cultures. How much United Nations allows you to contribute towards this shared heritage of the mankind or humanity, that I would say, because it's an international organization, right? It is the only global organization that encapsulates, I think, 192 countries, I guess, right?
Yep.
And different peoples from different backgrounds are contributing in terms of their ethnicity, in terms of their differences, I mean, differences of the opinion. So
Culture,
how
yeah.
has it enriched you as a person, and how does it allows its own existence to get enriched by those experiences?
Absolutely. I've worked in many countries, as just mentioned, but every day I sit next to somebody who's very far from where I am, culturally,
interesting.
linguistically, even their humor is different from mine. And that is the that's the richness of the UN. You're learning all the time.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's, I will never want to work for any other organization, because I can walk in and then say, I'm the United Nations, I'm also Pakistani, because Pakistan is a member of the United Nations.
Yeah.
So it is an incredible organization. Just to say, we will have a career booth on Saturday for those who want to know how people like me join the UN,
Sure, sure.
and people like more Pakistanis who may want to join the UN. But it's the only organization, I must say, that where you're exposed to a diverse world,
Right.
and a shared, and you'll find that actually we have so much more in common than divides us. So I'm very proud about it.
And certainly, you know, I have a lot of friends who actually work for the United Nations too as well, and they're really happy people. You know, it's good to see them as well. But while we're at it, we're just bringing it back. I'm sorry, I'm bringing it back as well. You know, let's talk about, you know, because we've spoken about the global affairs over here. Let's, you know, be precise about Pakistan. What do you think are the challenges faced or posed by Pakistan in today's time, and how do you think that the Pakistan, being a member state of the UN, can actually solve a lot of issues for us and for us to be more sustainable in times to come?
First, let me mention my first interaction with Pakistan in the UN. I was sent to Liberia, West African country that was in conflict, and sent to a small village in the border between Liberia. Those who are watching can now Google geography classes to understand where Liberia is. And Liberia borders a country called Guinea and a country called Sierra Leone. And I've been traveling all day. I ended up this place. I walk into a UN peacekeeping battalion, Pakistani army. Moved in there, settled, ate with the Pakistani soldiers, and provided a lot of security. And today, I can tell you that village and that community is safer, more prosperous, because young Pakistani men and women, when they're with the heart of the UN, to contribute to stability. So Pakistan has played an incredible role. Pakistanis have also paid the ultimate price. More than 181 Pakistani soldiers have died serving the UN.
Yes.
More than 236,000 Pakistanis have gone to more than about 48 countries.
Yes.
To say we have a shared humanity. I am from Pakistan, but I am now policing in the middle of nowhere in a place that I've never known, because we have a common humanity. And that is the platform that the UN provides. Now, coming back to Pakistan, we have 24 agencies here in 266, I think, offices working across the development and humanitarian work. So Pakistan contributes to the world, and the world through the UN contributes to Pakistan's development. And that is what the UN is all about.
So do you think when we are to kind of speak about education, when we are to speak about gender balance, when we are to speak about all of these humanitarian rights, do you think that on ground, United Nations has certainly kind of proved to be, you know, one of those agencies who've actually contributed towards not just of our, you know, probably daily solutions, but rather making sure that our future generations are more economically strong?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I've been in Pakistan for 9 months now, and I've worked in many countries. And I use this analogy, what does Pakistan need to do to be prosperous and rich? I think you have everything here. It's more of just putting it together, because many countries, you don't have the human capabilities the Pakistanis have.
True,
You don't have the land. God has given you the most incredible land to produce the food you need.
Yes.
And I've traveled, I was telling you, I traveled across to places in northern, in Chitral, and I've been saying, why have you been hiding this from the rest of us?
Where have you been to though?
I've been to north and south districts of Chitral. The most gorgeous things I've ever seen in my life, better than Switzerland. I hope the Swiss ambassador is not watching. And I keep thinking, this country is incredible, and you should advertise more so that you can enhance your tourist sector.
But sir, on the concluding remarks, I would say that we are usually getting our news from a very Orientalist lens, right? So for example, you told us that you're from Somalia.
Yeah.
So the first thing that came into my mind was, oh, the you know, Somalian pirates, how they're projected in Hollywood movies. I mean, that's a very narrow, myopic lens through which I am consuming my information, but I mean, that's there, right?
Yeah.
So what do you, because you're sitting here, you're a Somalian, you're a representative of United Nations, so please tell us more about Somalia. I mean, in
I hope you didn't expect me to say I am the captain now.
No. Absolutely.
No. I mean, it's one of the most incredible part is how we learn through each other through different lenses. I go to discover Pakistan and know about Pakistan.
Yes.
The Pakistan I knew and the Pakistan I have seen is huge difference.
Yeah.
So I think it's more about traveling, getting to know each other better, and you'll find out. And through the UN, you'll find out that we have so much in common.
Exactly, and very quickly towards the end, obviously, I wanted to talk about, you know, what you've eaten so far, but I think there's another important aspect which I wanted to touch upon, and that is that Muslims these days are actually affected by the Islamophobia, which actually works all over the globe, and, you know, the narrative building obviously takes a lot of place from the West. How do you think that the United Nations actually plays a role in protecting the rights of the Muslims all over the globe?
By the way, through your incredible diplomatic skills in the UN, General Assembly passed a resolution where we have a day for anti-Islamophobia
For Islamophobia in March,
and that's Pakistan's work. So that is a real challenge.
Right.
My name starts with Muhammad, and my last name is Yahya. So I get also sometimes picked up in airports randomly. It just happens to be me all the time randomly, but it's nature of the world we are in. But I think there is a effort now through the UN and through the work of many Muslim and non-Muslim countries to deal with this challenge.
To combat the
Wonderful.
Islamophobia and different form of the oppression, and that is why United Nations was established in the first place, to develop an order-based, rule-based order. Thank you so much, Mr. Yahya, for coming here, for having this wonderful cross-pollination of ideas, and for explicating on the existence of United Nations. We are going on a short break. After we come back, we will develop a further conversation, and that will be a very interesting conversation to hear. So don't go anywhere. Good morning.
Good morning. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Thank you so much for staying tuned, where we were observing the United Nations Day, rather celebrating as well, and their contributions and the contributions of the Pakistanis. It's about time that I share with you very interesting news. Now, imagine that you would fall in love with people, and the love will be of such sort that you certainly cannot let go of them, you know, especially when you're at airports. So
fall in love, that's quite a statement. I think I would like to explore it sometime.
Maybe your father, mother, you know, any of your loved
Good
ones,
explanation,
whenever you take them to the airport,
Okay.
you certainly cannot, you know, kind of let go of them. So what New Zealand airport has done is that a sign informing time limits for visitors to the passenger drop-off area outside Dunedin Airport in Momona, New Zealand, says that they have imposed a 3-minute limit on farewell hugs. The CEO of Dunedin Airport, Dan De Bono, said on Tuesday the new regulation was imposed in September to keep things moving smoothly. The measure is designed to prevent extended embraces leading to traffic jams at the provincial transport hub.
So I think according to Shehzad, New Zealand airport is the killer of the love. I would like to explore
well, over
this
here in Pakistan, you know that, you know, once we are actually going to go pick up somebody who's back from Umrah or Hajj, you know, उसकी गाड़ी में जगह नहीं होती.
That's true,
टब्बर
that's
इतना
true.
चला जाता है
That's
कि वो जो बेचारे आते हैं उनकी, you know, we're not left with any space. But please moving on.
That's true. So it happens to be 24th of October. It is also World Development Information Day. It is the United Nations Day, and I think the essential part of the work on development, which consists of the mobilization of the public opinion in both developing and the developed countries in the support of set objectives and policies. So since 1970s, governments have dedicated themselves to the fundamental objectives enshrined in the Charter of United Nations to create conditions of stability and well-being to ensure minimum standard of living consistent with the human dignity through economic and social progress and development. That is how we can incorporate the development aspect through the information. This is why we celebrate this particular day. But I think when we talk about information, public opinion sharing or public opinion making, it's not just that the younger people are contributing towards that, it's also the kids who are also essential in creating those sort of public opinions, and that too social media is a very essential aspect of that creation of the public opinion. And there are lots of cute videos of the younger children coming on the social media, having their own voices. I think we were deprived of this essential facility when we were growing up, because our voices were told to not to be very voiced up about our opinion, especially by our mothers. But I think now children are very, very different.
Alhamdulillah. And ladies and gentlemen, to kind of speak about it, we have a social media activist who's as young as probably, I don't know, I think she's only 5 or 6 years old. She's Miss Daneen Usman Butt. Hello, Assalamu Alaikum, good morning.
Hello and Assalamu Alaikum.
Thank you so much for joining us.
And
Wonderful to have you over here.
So Daneen has brought a book, and it's a very lovely cover. Darling, will you tell us about the book? Why have you brought it?
Yes, it's about awful auntie.
Can you show it to the camera?
Yeah. So what is the book about?
Awful Auntie, the name of the book.
Awful auntie. How many awful aunties have you had? Have you had a few, or you know, you never had?
No, I never had any.
Yeah.
But this is the book cover.
That's good. Okay.
What
so
is it about? Tell us about the book.
It's about a girl
Yeah.
who her parents died.
Right.
She was in coma for months.
My
Oh.
God. And then she woke
Then
up and the
when-
auntie was horrible?
No, when she woke up, she was wrapped like a mummy.
Okay.
She was like this. She couldn't move anything.
Right.
And when her aunt came, she had an owl on her shoulder. Her aunt had a pet owl
Right.
who was very legendary, I guess.
Yeah.
was very
I also like owls, you know. I'm very fond of owls, yeah.
Me too, man.
Yeah.
They're very cute.
So she was very cruel, and the girl's father, she was very cruel to the girl's father, and because she was his sister,
Okay.
elder sister, and she never talked to him really and gave him thank you or something.
She was Popo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Popo was not very nice. Okay.
Yeah. But okay, now Daneen, let's get serious, you know. So let's talk about the role of social media for common people. Gee, what would you say about that?
So basically what I think, when something comes to your mind, you want to show it to the whole world, and you want to express your feelings to them and show and communicate it with them. You communicate it with it like in blogs or vlogs.
Yeah, but do you think it's a great idea that whatever, you know, you think about, you should put it out on the internet? Or do you think we should think before we speak or post?
We should think before we speak
Yeah.
or
Post, yeah.
Post.
And
That's
what
very
type of
interesting.
content do you think needs to be created on internet?
it should also, I think they can make any content, but it should be age appropriate.
Yeah, age appropriate. So how do you make
what
sure?
sort of content do you create?
I make fashion clothing.
Oh, really?
Fashion,
Are you
yes.
into fashion? What is fashionable nowadays?
Like you can say Zara Kids.
Yeah.
Okay.
Zara
So,
Kids, like these baggy jeans.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very nice.
And-
You're looking very nice in this.
Thank you.
so I think what we should do is that we should actually ask you that, you know, when you're making a vlog, so imagine that that's your camera. Imagine that you're making a vlog. So how, and it's on fashion. So go ahead, you know, share with our audiences, how would you make a vlog? Okay, go ahead.
So basically, first I will start. Like I'll take my
Just
clothes.
look in the camera. You don't have to look at us. You're making a vlog now, okay?
First, I'll take my clothes. I would wear my home clothes. Then I will do a transformation. Then I would do a transformation, which I will tell my daily life,
Yeah.
and then tell about the fashion clothing.
Yeah,
That's all.
and that's good. So
But
is it more like get ready with me?
Yes.
And do you like jeans and shirts, or do you like more Eastern wear, shirt,
No,
trousers,
I like
dupattas?
I like this.
You were like
Yeah.
Western wear. Oh, that's
Yeah.
very interesting.
So, you know, while you're making your content, so how do you make sure that, you know, whatever fashion that I'm introducing or bringing to my audiences, do you think that it's for everybody? Do you think that it's for one segment, you know, for a few number of people? How do you make sure that it goes to a lot of people out there?
No, actually, when you post it, it goes all around the
Yeah,
world.
because that's
So
the kind of following
it's
you have, right?
opportunity for everyone in the world.
Yeah, that's so nice.
And how versatile is content making?
It's actually very simple. You just have to do some poses and wear the dress, and it's really.
Can you show us the few poses that you do if you are comfortable with that, you know, with the vlogs that you make? Please go ahead. How do you do that?
By
Yeah, you
standing?
go ahead. You can pick up the mic in your hand, you know, so that it does not disturb you. Yes.
Yeah, also do like this,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like this.
In front of the
Yeah.
camera. In front of
the
the
camera. Yeah. So it's more of hearts and style
Yeah.
and fashion. Yeah, that's nice. And then do you get a lot of fans because obviously you're very you're followed by a lot of people. So then
Who are your fans?
Actually, I don't know, but
Right.
there are many, so I can't count this.
Oh, there's so many she can't
Yeah,
count
so
there.
what is that one question that they ask you regularly, Daneen? Please help us with this or help us with this. Do you read your fan mails?
Sometimes
Sometimes, So what do they
What is
ask
written
you?
in that?
they just do some like encouraging and stuff.
What?
They just do some encouraging.
Okay, they encourage you a
They're
lot.
like,
yeah.
Dani, they're so amazing, my princess, or something.
Oh, that's very interesting. You are a very interesting and
Alhamdulillah.
amazing and a very cute little child. So, what do you want to be when you grow up, Dani? Would you like to carry this forward?
Yes.
Blogging.
And-
Oh, really?
And then while you do it, because your parents allow it, how do you manage your studies? Do you manage your studies alongside? Are you a
Yes.
great student as well?
Yes, actually, me and my mom do it on weekends or my holidays.
All right.
Oh. So do you say sometime to your mother that, I don't want to do homework, I want to do the vlogs? Do you say to her?
Sometimes.
Sometimes, okay. And I think what will be the response, we will be interesting to explore. But thank you so much, Dani, for coming here,
Thank
for having this wonderful, cute conversation about the power of the opinion making, the vlogs, and how kids are contributing towards the diverse voices that we are witnessing on the social media. After a short break, we are going to come back and we will develop an interesting conversation. Don't go anywhere. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome back, and before going on to the break, I alluded that we will develop on something very interesting and something that is very pertinent that I would like to say, because it is a problem that is very Pakistan specific, I would like to say, and that is the epidemic of polio that we are still not able to eradicate it. And because today happens to be 24th of October, it is also United Nations Polio Day. So it is essential that we talk on this disease, on this crippling disease, and how we can save the future generation, we can save the kids from getting the polio by just having the drops of polios, and what are some of the hurdles that we are still witnessing as a society, as a nation, in order to eradicate this very menace of polio.
Exactly, and there are only 3 countries on this planet, on the face of this planet: Pakistan, Afghanistan, Nigeria, where it still exists as well. To speak about it, we're very lucky that we've been joined by Dr. Uzair Chaudhary, who happens to be a medical specialist as well. Hello, sir. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning.
Walaikum salam. How about you?
Absolutely perfect. Thank you so much for joining us. Wonderful to have you. So why do you think that we have still not been able to curb the menace of polio in our country?
Well, there are lots of reasons, and one of the reasons which is particularly very important to discuss over this platform is that the political instability.
Okay.
The political instability and the misconceptions which are in the minds of the people. There is a certain aspect an Asian man cannot tolerate, and that is ending his race.
Yeah.
And this is a misconception inculcated into the people that the polio vaccine is somehow going to end the race of them.
Yeah.
And it is being instilled in those people, and this is something Asian
Thank you
man
so
wants.
much for-
I think we did have by the state through the fatwas and through incorporation of different community leaders, state did made its effort in order to root out these misconceptions, especially you talked about
Yes.
infertility and a lot of that. But I think one of the essential aspects is that the porous border that we have with the Afghanistan and
Yeah.
how people are unable to get themselves vaccinated against the polio. But now let's come to the medical aspect of the polio. What is polio? And if someone gets the polio, how crippling it can be, and what are the, how do you think we need to deal with someone who has the polio? How sensitive we need to be with them as a layman?
Well, life is really crippling when a person gets this disease.
Right.
And polio is not just a disease, I must say it is a syndrome. And syndrome is when there is a lot of diseases accumulated. And when a person goes into the polio, it affects mainly the children under the age of 5 years of age.
Okay.
And it motor the neurons of a person, of the child, is chiefly affected by polio virus.
Right, right.
And there are the two, let me tell the audience
sure.
that
Sure.
there is a motor neuron system in our human body as well as a sensory neuron system. And the polio virus is particularly affecting the motor neurons. It means that the child cannot walk, a child cannot breathe, a child cannot eat. So you asked me that
Breathing aspect is very horrible.
yeah,
right?
that
I
is
never
the
knew that.
horrible aspect, and it is certainly sometimes overwhelmed and not seen by the people. And it is the polio virus is affecting the nervous system, and when it is affecting the limbs, one cannot walk. And when it affects the muscles which are responsible for breathing,
Right.
that person can lead to death.
And how is it transmitted? Can we
Can
speak
we-
about it as well? Because we certainly are not aware, because, you know, so we do see the prevalence of polio in our country. How is it being transmitted?
The main aspect is the fecal-oral route. It is transmitted to that person's feces. It contains the polio virus. He defecates, it goes to the streams. We don't have a good sewage system, and certainly our water supplies, drinking supplies get mixed with the fecal supplies, and eventually it is transmitted.
And I guess I think that what we really need to kind of do to curb this menace is that, you know, that in whatever geographical location it actually still exists, we really need to kind of work about these sewerage lines and make sure
Yes.
that there's clean drinking water so that there's no contamination. I think that's one aspect of it. But are there some early symptoms as well? And do you think that if there are early symptoms, can we cure it before time?
Yes, most of the viruses, they always present with simple cold and flu-like symptoms.
Okay.
And it is just like sometimes it is sneezing, it is just body pain, sometimes it goes to high-grade fever.
Okay.
And the final presentation of polio is paralysis.
Yeah.
And that is threatening.
And Dr. Uzair, now also let's talk about the post-polio cure, right? I mean, there are lots of studies and researches. So, for example, now there's a cure for hepatitis C, right? Do you think that medical science is going in this direction where we can have a cure post-polio? If you get the polio, you know, how you can eradicate that virus from your body?
Well, up to so far, till this date, there has been no cure for polio. All we can do is prevent. And once when a person comes to us with polio,
Right.
all we can do is symptomatically manage the patient.
Right,
For
right.
example, we can boost his immune system, we can help him with physiotherapy, but we cannot cure and eradicate this virus once it enters the body.
Exactly.
right.
And while we're at it, you know, since we're speaking about, you know, unfortunately, if somebody's been diagnosed with polio, how do you think that our medical facilities over here assist that one particular person who's suffering from polio already?
Well, government is doing a lot of work, and I really appreciate the work which the government has up till so far completed, that people who are coming with polio are a little number right now. It is 39. The Balochistan, it is the worst province in terms of polio. It reported 20 cases this year. And Sindh, it produced 12 people, and Punjab, it just gave the one, and Islamabad also had one case of polio. So the total number is 39, and for these 39 cases, the government, along with the WHO, World Health Organization, along with the UNICEF, are working in hand to cure and to prevent this disease.
Right.
Thank you so much, Dr. Uzair
Dr.
Chaudhary,
Uzair.
for being with us. Lovely to be in
Thank you so
conversation
much.
with you. Thank you so much for highlighting, you know, such a menace which, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, we've been unable to curb. And certainly, it requires a lot of cooperation from the general masses out there for them to be more aware. Or, you know, I would love to say it in Urdu as well, because it's for the sake of awareness. देखिए मैंने बचपन में पोलियो के खतरे पिए हैं Alhamdulillah, mujhe Allah ne bachche bhi diye. I think this is something that everybody needs to understand and probably be more aware of it. Our very amazing, filled with energy news anchor is already on the news desk. I think it's about time that we certainly wrap it up and say goodbyes to everybody who are out there. But until next time, look after yourselves. 1, 2, 3.
Good morning.
Have a great day. Yeah.
Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz. Thank you.